All right, today will sort of be a hodgepodge. I want to talk a little bit about some thoughts I had about image editing. Stuff I played around with over the weekend, not even for this class, but just for the fun of it. And also for what? Oh, probably touch base a little bit on flash navigation some more, because we talked about that. We introduced it last time. I think there's a couple more alternatives to consider. We may briefly introduce them and come back to them later. And the other thing I want to do is talk to you about your next assignment, the video assignment, and start in on that topic. One thing I would suggest is for you to bring your project materials to class, because just about any week we may have a day that, for whatever reason, I end at a certain point and it would be a good time to go and talk about your project. So that design is coming due very soon. Do we have any questions concerning the project? Has anyone started their project yet? Okay. What are you doing it on? If I might.
Photography site.
Photography site?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to talk to you about later.
Okay, we can talk it out. Yeah. What?
No, I understand.
Okay. Other questions, comments, other ideas? Yes.
I was going to do my aunt is she breeds dogs and
Okay.
she needs a website to sell her puppies.
Okay. Fair enough. All right. Remember, part of your job here is to figure out what's the best, most effective way to take advantage of multimedia. So that's part of the job too. For everyone else, come up with something in the next week. All right. If you need help with that, let me know and we can discuss it. Almost any idea can either be broadened or narrowed to fit within the parameters of the project. All right, first thing I want to do is talk a little bit about maybe how we could use some of those goofy special effects in the GIMP, maybe in a way that maybe you wouldn't have thought of before. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fire up the GIMP here, and I'm going to fire up Flash. And again, I say the GIMP because I don't think Photoshop's installed in here, and in addition, I'm more familiar with the GIMP, but you could just as well do these same things in Photoshop for those of you that are wealthy and have a copy of Photoshop at your disposal.
That's my thoughts exactly.
For those of you that are wealthy or have questionable ethics and have a copy of Photoshop at your disposal. Yeah, I thought, as I said that, I thought, well, there is another possibility. I don't know if I want to bring it up or not.
What happens if you get caught with a pirated version?
I think... Yeah. Well, look at it this way. What happened to the grandma whose grandkid downloaded 2 songs on her computer? They sent her to Guantanamo Bay and she got a life imprisonment. No, I don't know what they really did, but it was pretty severe. I mean, in terms of fines, that is pretty severe. A lot of people argue that it's very, very excessive, but again, I don't know, but I don't need to know because I don't do that. So I don't need to worry about it. All right. So I'm just going to take some random old images here. I'm going to work with the sample pictures, and I don't know. Let's see. Let's work with the penguins today because we're cold again. Yeah. Yeah, I know. It's probably still average or above average out there, and everyone's like, how horrible it is.
Compared to last week.
Yeah, right. Okay, so I'm going to go and edit this. I will edit it a couple ways. But let's say, for example, and this is firing up here. This does take a long time. Let's say we wanted to demonstrate, and again, I want to show the technique. You can figure out a context for it, I want to show, let's say I want to talk about or show something with, damage to the penguin's habitat, for example, global warming or whatever. All right. So here's something that I could do with the image. And here might be a use for some of those artistic filters that you might look at and say, well, there's really not much of a use of them. And again, keep in mind that I'm just trying to come up with any excuse to show you how to do this. All right. So one thing I might do is do this. We got our image. All right. What I could do is I could go in and I could apply a filter on this. And I could apply maybe a blur, maybe a Cubism filter. But just for laughs, I'm going to apply a mosaic filter to show how their world is breaking apart, let's say. That was pretty clever. So I'll go and I'll do this, and that looks good. And I'll go and edit that. And that's what it looks like. It looks like a mosaic. All right. There's a lot of different parameters you can have for this. Let me go and save this as penguins 1. All right. So now what I could do is I can then go into Flash and create my animation. Again, keep in mind, no one could possibly talk about all the things that you could do with these tools. I guess my purpose today is to encourage you to, first of all, understand the tools that you have. Understand what you have at work. And from there, start thinking about how can I use these tools? And how can I use them more effectively? Now, that doesn't mean that you put in effects just to put in effects, or you do things just because it looks cool. But if you don't have an idea, if you don't spend some time playing with these tools and getting an idea of the capabilities of them, you're really not in a position then to really understand how you might be able to use them. All right? And the other thing I guess I'm showing is, in this case, I'm going to combine a little bit of image manipulation and animation and probably even typography. All right, to bring all those things together, because these things don't function in their own silos. There's, it's the synergy between elements, I think, that makes multimedia most effective. So I could do something like this. I could go in and create. Don't you love when you just totally lose your train of thought? I will import that first penguin picture. And I'll give it the size that I want. I'll connect the aspect ratio. Maybe make it 600 by 450. Maybe even make it a little smaller. Let's make it 400 by 300. And I will keep it in position 0, 0. All right? I am then going to go and make another layer, right? Because I'm going to do tweens. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fade the one into the other. All right? And in order to do that, I have to do 2 tweens. I have to fade the one out. I have to fade the other one in. All right? So I'll go in and I will say, what do I want to do? I always have to hide the other frames. Always confusing to me otherwise. Let's import to stage the other penguin picture. Let's make it the same size. And then what I can do is make both of them symbols and make both of them into motion tweens. So I will, I'll select that guy, and I'll modify, convert the symbol, and I'll make it P2 for the second penguin. I'll go into here, and
Insert keyframe?
now what happened? I thought I imported that picture.
You did.
Oh, well. Let me re-import it then. Or actually, let me just bring it over from the library. I don't know what happened to that. But at any rate, we'll go and select this, and I will convert to a symbol, and I'll make it P1. Oops. Now, I'll create a motion tween on each of these. So I will go in, create motion tween. Go into the other one, and
Oh, maybe the first one.
I'm really confused at this point.
Bring your
Maybe the
timeline over.
It needs to be on the
Thank you, thank you. There we go. Create motion tween. There we go, thank you. Now, this one, I'm going to go to that frame. Actually, I'll go into this frame, and I will set properties, color effects, alpha, start out at 100%, move to the last frame, properties, alpha, 0%. So that one is going to fade out. I want to do the exact opposite with the other one. I want to go and set its alpha, oops, to 0% initially, and set it, whoops, set it to 100% in the last frame. So it fades in. So taken together, I get something like that.
Nice, very nice. Yeah.
And, of course, I don't think that picture by itself says everything, so I would probably include some text as well, that would describe it and use the typography along with it. All right? So again, this is a case of knowing what message that you want to have and thinking of the most effective ways that you can do it. All right? You can do it via text, through images, and then do some little animation to do some things and to bring them in. All right? Again, remember what I said back on the first day, and at the risk of patting myself on the back, I think this is the first class I've ever said this to, and I'm going to be sure to include this in every subsequent class. Your job as a multimedia person, as a multimedia designer, is to be a storyteller. Your job is to tell a story. All right? Now, it might not be your story. Someone might hire you to tell the story. For example, some conservation group may have hired you to tell a story or whatever. All right? But your job is to tell that story. And in telling that story, you have a lot of tools at your disposal. So your job is to know those tools well and know how to put those tools together and what the appropriate mix is and all that to best tell your story. All right? So these assignments, keep in mind these individual assignments have all been pretty much based on, we're going to talk about photo editing, so you're going to edit photos. If you throw in some animation, fine, but you're going to edit photos. This is typography, so I want text. All right? And so on down the line. That's the focus of those because each one of these assignments is meant to sort of build your skills in different areas. But ultimately your job, and you can do this on some of those other projects, or you can do, definitely I want you to do this in terms of the final project, is your job really is to figure out the right mix and to figure out how to integrate these tools together and get them to work together to form something that's cohesive and to best tell your story. All right? Tell your story effectively, quickly, and without much distraction. Do remember again that what we're doing here isn't art. All right? We're not doing things just for our own expression or to create mystery or to have ambiguity so people really have to stop and think and consider it. Our job is to be communicators, to very directly portray someone's message. All right? That's why a lot of the assignments, again, are focused on doing something specific as opposed to, well, just show me a gallery of a bunch of nice pictures. All right? Here we want to tell a story and we want to see how to make potato salad, or we want to see how to do this or how to do that. All right? Very focused on some particular aspect. Any questions about this? And there's all kinds of filters you can try. This, I actually, I got to try this one. I want to try the Cubism one, because I'll bet you that might have a nice effect. Cubism, a style of painting popularized by Picasso and Braque, I think. Any artist in the group can correct me. Alright. And I will save that as Penguins 3. Now I will go back in and actually edit that symbol and delete that picture and import that other picture and put it in the right place and resize it. And now if we go and run this, we get a sort of blurring effect. Did everyone see what I did, by the way, with changing that image? Remember, if you double-click on a symbol, your timeline changes. Your stage and your timeline changes. You're no longer looking at the overall timeline. You're looking at the timeline for just that symbol. All right? So, just like if you remember, we did that with the worm, where we made the worm have a symbol that had 2 positions in it, and we went and edited that. We could even do this, go in and, add a keyframe to be maybe, what do I want to do? To be something else. That's specific, huh? Go and add a keyframe. That's where that picture went, by the way.
What was it?
It was part of the other symbol. But anyhow, we could add another image. You could do a nice effect, by the way, on that. If you didn't want to do the dramatic thing, I guess another option, here. We'll try this. Let's start with our penguins picture, and we'll edit with GIMP. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to repeatedly apply the mosaic filter and change the parameters of it one after another. So let me go in and let me resize this guy to start.
Scale.
Thank you. We want to resize this guy to 400 scale. And I'll go in and I'll save that as 1. All right. I'll go in and I will apply the mosaic filter. And I will make the tiles pretty small. I'll make the spacing pretty tight. I'll make the tiles very neat. And I'll make the tiles big. Okay. Now I'll save this as 2. I'll go and undo that and redo the mosaic, and I'll make the tiles a little smaller and put a little more space between them. And I'll save this as 3. So let's see if you guys are paying attention. I'll go and undo that. And we'll do one more. Make the tiles smaller, the spacing bigger, like that. And we'll save that as 4. Now, what we can do is we can go into Flash and we can import them, and we could do this any number of ways. We could do it similar to what I did before, where we have them overlap. All right. Well, we'll actually do a couple things. I shouldn't have started down this path. I'm going to spend hours. This is what I do, by the way, on the weekends. Not necessarily with Flash, but with other tools. This is what I do when I should be grading your stuff. All right. I will say, and this is the honest to God's truth, anyone I know that is good with this stuff would be doing this kind of stuff whether they paid them for it or not. All right? I mean, they might be doing different stuff. You know, they might be putting their hat on Arnold Schwarzenegger's body instead of doing a corporate logo, all right? But they would basically be doing this stuff and would playing with it. It's amazing how many, I hesitate to say discoveries, because it's not like I'm discovering anything, but it's amazing how many ideas you can generate if you're just, like, open enough to play around with things, and then, you know, it may not seem immediately useful at the time, but 6 months later it's like, you know, this could come in handy, and you go and do it. So I'll go in here and one thing I'll do is I'll import to stage the first one. And Flash is smart. It notices that there's something called 1, 2, 3, and 4, and it thinks, maybe those have something to do with each other. Should I import them? So I'll say yes. In which case, then you could have an animation like that.
It does it automatically.
Yeah, it does it automatically for you. Creates that and does a transition. I suppose another thing that you could do, if you didn't want to do that, is you could do similar to what I did and sort of do it manually. Import the first one. I'll say no to that.
Oh, maybe you already made it.
Yeah, I already did. And then go and create motion tween. Yeah, I want a symbol and tween it. And then I could go add another layer. And in here I could overlap it and say insert keyframe. Let's see, I want to go on that. And I want to import import to stage the next one. And then I could play with the respective opacity of them. So I could start this guy off as having an alpha of 0, going to an alpha of 100%, and then have this guy go from it's invisible. Yeah, there we go. Have this guy go from a alpha of 100% to an alpha of 0%. And by having them overlap like this, I saw that invisible, that's right. By having them overlap like this, it makes even a smoother transition between those two images. All right? Well, tons of things that you can do. All right? Better stop me now because I have an 8 o'clock class. All right? So I want to be out of here and eat by then. I decided, because I went a little longer on this, which I think is good, because I think there's some good examples here. I'll talk about some of the other navigation things that you can do in Flash later on when we get into the advanced animation section. So we'll table those for discussions now. And I do want to talk, though, about your next project, which you have 3 more things to do. And I realize it'll be tight, and we can make some adjustments on that and all. But you have a video, you have an advanced animation, and you have your final project. All right.
We have an advanced animation project too?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know we had any more. Two
Yep.
more. Okay.
2 more in the final, yeah. So,
What's the final?
the final project, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so, the video one. The video one, you have a choice of what you want to do, of what you can do. All right. Some of you know that, some of you that have had me in the 216 class this term know that I offered an alternative in that class for your semester project. In this class, you have an alternative for your video project, not the semester project. And the alternative, and I'll describe the 2 alternatives. The one alternative is to make a short PSA or commercial for a real organization, a fake organization, a real product, a fake product, anything that you want, but the limitation is time-wise it needs to be around a minute long. All right? When I say PSA, I mean public service announcement. So like if you've ever seen ads on TV, usually on late night TV when the time is cheap to buy commercials, there'll be something like, be sure to fasten your seatbelt. Only you can prevent forest fires. Don't smoke. That sort of thing. All right? That's what a PSA is, public service announcement. Or you can do a commercial. I encourage you, as with every assignment, to have fun with this. I have had students do like a PSA for like wearing their bicycle helmet. I remember that one really well because it was probably the worst acting I've ever seen, other than the movie Battlefield Earth, which was actually way worse. All right, and plus this isn't meant to be good acting, But the person had their girlfriend riding a bike, and it was like, "Oops, I fell." Boom, and I fell down like that. So wasn't particularly good stunts, but it did get the message across. And do keep in mind that the point of this is is twofold. The point of this is, number one, you can think about, you can organize, and you can put together a video that has a message, and you can use the appropriate video software to edit it. Let me tell you, you may think a minute is a long time. A minute is nothing. All right? If you were to go shoot, video of someone saying, please wear your seatbelt, it can save